The creator of the entire universe swears oaths. Stop and let that land, because it is one of the strangest and most overlooked things in the whole Quran. God swears by the sun, by the fig and the olive, by the breaking dawn, by the pen, by time itself. Again and again, across the pages of the book, the maker of all things raises, as it were, his hand and swears an oath, and the thing he swears by is almost never what you would expect. Because think about what happens when you swear. When a human being wants to convince you they are telling the truth, they reach for something greater than themselves, and they swear by it. I swear by God. It only works because you are invoking something higher, something weightier than you, something you would never dare to lie in front of. That is the entire logic of an oath. You anchor your word to something greater. So here is the question that should stop you in your tracks. What does God swear by? When you are the Most High, when there is nothing greater than you in all of existence, nothing above you to anchor your word to, what do you swear by? And the answer the Quran gives is astonishing. He swears by the things he made, by a fig, by a reed pen, by the morning light, the infinite creator, swearing by his own tiny, finite creation. Picture it for a moment. You would expect the opening of a divine chapter to begin with thunder, with the throne, with the majesty of the heavens. And instead, sometimes, it begins like this. By the fig, by the olive, by the reed pen, and the ink it drags across a page. It is almost shocking in its smallness. The Lord of the worlds, opening his speech by pointing at a piece of fruit. Nobody would invent that, and nobody points at a fig for no reason. Why? Why would he do that? It makes no sense on the surface. And yet he does it dozens of times, deliberately, in some of the most powerful passages in the entire book. There is a reason. And hidden inside every single one of these oaths is a structure, a pattern, so precise and so consistent that once you see it, you will never read these verses as decoration again. Because these oaths are not poetry for its own sake. They are not ornament. Every one of them is building towards something. Every one of them is a case being made. And by the end of this video, you are going to see exactly what the sun, the fig, the dawn, and the pen are all, together, pointing at. And it is pointing directly at you. Let us begin with the strangeness itself, because you have to feel how unusual this is before the pattern will mean anything. In Islam, you are not allowed to swear by created things. This is not a small rule. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was absolutely clear about it. He said that whoever swears by anything other than God has committed an act of disbelief, or an act of associating partners with God, which in Islam is the gravest sin there is. And in another narration, he said it plainly, God forbids you from swearing by your forefathers. Whoever wants to swear, let him swear by God, or else stay silent. Swear by God, or say nothing at all. So, for a Muslim, this is a closed door. You do not swear by your mother, by your honor, by the sky, by the grave of a saint, by anything in creation. To do so is to give a created thing a kind of sacred weight that belongs to God alone. It is a form of the one sin the entire religion is built to protect you from. And now hold that rule in one hand, and in the other hand, hold the fact that God himself, all through the Quran, swears by the sun and the moon and the night and the fig and the pen. Do you feel the tension? The very thing forbidden to us is done, openly and repeatedly, by God. And that is not a contradiction. It is the entire key, because the reason we cannot swear by creation is precisely the reason God can. When you or I swear by something, we are elevating it, treating it as a source of truth and weight above ourselves, and nothing in creation deserves that from us. But when God swears by his creation, he is not elevating it above himself. That would be impossible. He is doing the opposite. He is reaching down into the world he made, picking up one of his own creations, and holding it up in front of you as a witness. He is saying, in effect, look at this thing, this sun, this dawn, this fig. Look at it closely, because it is going to testify to the truth I am about to tell you. It is not the oath of a man borrowing weight from something greater. It is the oath of a king calling his own servants to the witness stand. And there is a second layer to it, because when God swears by a created thing, he is also honoring it. The early scholars noticed this. Qatada, one of the great teachers of the generation after the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that when God swears by certain things, he does so because of the high and noble status those things hold in his sight. So the oath does two things at once. It calls the thing as a witness, and it crowns it. It says to you, pay attention. This thing you walk past every day is far more significant than you ever realized. When God swears by the sun, he is not only summoning it to testify, he is telling you the sun is a sign worth contemplating. The oath is a spotlight, and everything it lands on suddenly matters. And there is one oath that proves this beyond any doubt, because in one place, God swears by a human being. He swears by the very life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, by your life, they are wandering blindly in their intoxication, by your life. And the scholars, including reports going back to the companion Ibn Abbas, point out something staggering about that single oath. In the entire Quran, from beginning to end, God never once swears by the life of any other prophet, not Abraham, not Moses, not Jesus, peace be upon them all, only Muhammad. And that one exception is understood as a mark of his rank, a quiet coronation hidden inside an oath, God elevating his beloved messenger by swearing on his very life. So these oaths are never idle. When God swears by something, he is honoring it, and he is calling it to speak. So already the picture changes. These are not random flourishes. When God swears by the sun, he is summoning the sun as a witness. When he swears by the pen, he is calling the pen to testify. And a witness is only ever called for one reason, to support a verdict, which brings us to the hidden structure inside every one of these oaths. An oath in the Arabic of the Quran has a shape, and the scholars mapped it out with great care. There is the one who swears. There is the thing sworn by, which the scholars call the muqsam bihi, the sun, the dawn, the fig. And then, crucially, there is a third part, the part almost everyone skips right over. There is the thing being sworn to. The scholars call it the jawab al-qasam, the response of the oath, because here is the truth about every oath ever spoken by anyone, anywhere. An oath is never the point. An oath is always a setup. Nobody swears an oath and then stops. You swear an oath in order to say something. I swear to you that I will be there. I swear that I did not do it. The oath is the drum roll. The statement that comes after it is the whole reason the drum roll happened. And most people, reading the Quran, do the one thing you must never do with an oath. They stop at the drum roll. They read by the sun and its brightness. They feel the sweep and the poetry of it. They nod, and they move on. And they never arrive at the sentence the sun was actually summoned to prove. It is like being called into a courtroom, watching a witness solemnly sworn in, and then standing up and walking out before the witness says a single word. You would have missed the entire trial. The oath was never the message. The oath is the door to the message, and almost everyone stops at the door. And this is the single most important thing to understand about the oaths of the Quran, the thing that unlocks all of them. To understand any oath God makes, you cannot just admire the sun or the fig he swears by. You have to keep reading. You have to find the sentence that comes right after, the thing he is swearing to. Because that sentence, the response of the oath, is the verdict. It is the truth the whole thing was built to deliver. The sun is just the witness. The verdict comes next. And one of the greatest scholars in the history of Islam devoted an entire book to exactly this. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, a towering figure in the tradition, wrote a whole work called At-Tibyan fi Aqsam al-Quran, which means, roughly, the clear exposition of the oaths of the Quran. An entire book just on this one feature. And what he showed, again and again, is that the witness always fits the verdict. God never swears by a random thing. The thing he swears by is always connected, deliberately, meaningfully, to the truth he is swearing to. The witness is always chosen to prove the very point being made. Once you know that, you can walk through these oaths like a detective, and the whole design lights up. Let me give you one quick taste of how tight the design is, before we walk through the big ones. In one short chapter, God swears by the night as it covers everything, and by the day as it blazes into view, and by the one who created the male and the female. 3 witnesses, And notice what they have in common. Night against day, male against female. They are opposites, pairs of contraries. And then comes the verdict, the response of the oath. Indeed, your efforts are diverse. Your strivings pull in different directions. Some of you spend your lives on one thing, some on its total opposite. Do you see it? The great commentator Ibn Kathir pointed straight at this. The witnesses are opposites, night and day, male and female, and the verdict is about opposition, that human beings diverge, that your paths split, that some rise and some fall. The witness does not just support the verdict, it mirrors it, it is shaped like it. That is the level of precision Ibn Qayyim spent a whole book uncovering. Nothing in these oaths is accidental. The witness is always tailored, exactly, to the truth it is called to prove. So let us first meet the witnesses. Let us look at what God actually swears by, because the range of it is staggering, and the categories themselves start to tell a story. The first and largest group is the heavens, the celestial things. God swears by the sun and its morning brightness. He swears by the moon when it follows the sun. He swears by the star when it sets and descends below the horizon. He swears by the sky itself and the great constellations set within it. Over and over, he calls the lights of the heavens to the stand, the very things that human beings, in every culture across history, have looked up at with awe and, so often, wrongly worshipped. God takes the sun that so many nations bowed to and makes it bow, instead, as a witness in his court. And it goes further than the sun and moon. He swears by the sky and the mighty constellations wheeling across it. He swears by the angels, described as those who tear out souls and those who glide, those who race ahead and those who arrange the affair. He swears by the winds sent forth in succession. He calls the whole machinery of the heavens, the lights, the weather, the very messengers of the unseen, and lines them up as witnesses. Everything above your head, the entire vault of the sky you glance at and ignore, God summons as evidence. The second group is time, and this one is haunting. God swears by the dawn, the moment the first light cracks the darkness. He swears by the night as it stretches out and covers everything. He swears by the mid-morning, when the sun has fully risen and the day is bright. He swears by 10 specific nights. And most piercingly of all, he swears by Asr, by time itself, by the passing age, the very hours and years that are, at this exact moment, slipping through your fingers and never coming back. God calls time to testify. Think about what a witness time is. It has watched everything, it forgets nothing, and it is running out. The third group is places, sacred ground. God swears by Mount Sinai, the mountain where he spoke directly to the prophet Moses, peace be upon him. And he swears by a particular city, calling it this secure land, this city of safety, meaning the sacred city of Mecca. He calls the very earth beneath the feet of the prophets to the witness stand, ground soaked in revelation. And then the fourth group, and this is the one that should truly stop you, because it is where the infinite Creator reaches for the smallest, humblest, most ordinary things. God swears by the fig and the olive, two simple fruits you could hold in your hand, that you might eat without a second thought. He swears by the pen, a plain reed cut for writing. He swears by the winds that scatter the dust. He swears by the even and the odd. He swears, in one breathtaking passage we will come back to, by the human soul itself, and by the one who shaped it and balanced it. From the sun that lights an entire solar system, all the way down to a single fig, all the way in to the soul inside your own chest, God calls his creation, at every scale, to testify. If you are feeling the weight of this, if you are starting to look at the ordinary things around you a little differently, then let me ask you for one small thing, because it genuinely matters for a channel like this one. If this is opening the Quran up for you, take 1 second and tap the like button. It is a tiny action, but it is the clearest possible signal that tells the platform to carry this to the next person who has read past these oaths 100 times and never once been shown the design inside them. And if you want to keep pulling threads like this, keep seeing the architecture underneath the words, then subscribe and stay with us, because this is exactly what we do here. So here's a question for the comments, and I read them. Which of these oaths surprised you the most? That God would swear by the sun, or by time, or by something as small as a fig? Tell me below. It shapes what we make next. Now, Let us find the verdicts. We have met the witnesses. Now we do the thing almost nobody does. We keep reading, past the oath, to the response, to find out what each witness was called to prove. And when you line them up, the pattern is impossible to miss. Start with the shortest and most devastating. God swears by time, by Al, Asr, by the fleeting age. And what is the verdict that follows? Indeed, mankind is in loss, all of it. Every human being, drowning in loss, their life draining away like sand, except, he says, those who believe, and do righteous deeds, and urge one another to the truth, and urge one another to patience. Look at the design. He calls time to the stand, the one thing every one of us is running out of, and time testifies to exactly one truth, that your life is slipping away, and unless you are building something that outlasts it, you are at a loss. The witness is perfect. What better proof that you are losing something than the relentless ticking of the very thing you are losing? God swore by the clock to tell you the clock is running out. Now take the fig and the olive. God swears by the fig, the olive, Mount Sinai, and the secure city. Sacred fruits, a sacred mountain, a sacred city. And what is the verdict? We have most certainly created the human being in the best and most beautiful of forms. And then, he says, we returned him to the lowest of the low. Except, again, those who believe and do righteous deeds. Do you see the argument being made? The witnesses are places and things bound up with prophets and revelation, with the highest potential of the human story. And the verdict is exactly about human potential, that you were made in the best of forms, made for greatness, and that you can either rise to it through faith and good works, or collapse to the very bottom. The witness fits the verdict precisely. Take another, the chapter of the dawn, Al-Fajr. God swears by the dawn, and by 10 nights, and by the even and the odd, and by the night as it moves on and passes away. And then he asks a piercing question. Is there not in these an oath for a person who truly has a mind? He is almost daring you to feel the weight of what he just swore by. And then, instead of a single verdict, he does something different. He calls history itself to the stand. He reminds you of the people of Ad, with their towering city of pillars, the like of which had never been built. He reminds you of Thamud, who carved their homes into the sheer rock of the mountains. He reminds you of Pharaoh, master of vast armies and monuments, mighty, unstoppable civilizations, every one of them convinced it would last forever. And every one of them, he says, was seized, crushed, poured over with punishment, because they transgressed and spread corruption. The dawn was the witness, and the verdict was written across the ruins of the greatest empires that ever forgot their Lord. And then, at the very end of that same chapter, the tone melts into pure tenderness, and God calls out to a different soul entirely, the soul at peace, the reassured heart, saying, "Return to your Lord, well pleased and pleasing to him. Enter among my servants, enter my garden, from the wreckage of tyrants to the homecoming of a peaceful soul, all of it summoned by an oath sworn on the breaking of the dawn. And now, the crown of them all, the passage you have to hear in full to feel the genius of it. In the chapter called Ash-Shams, the sun, God unleashes the longest chain of oaths in the entire Quran. He swears by the sun and its brightness, and by the moon when it follows it, and by the day when it reveals it, and by the night when it covers it, and by the sky and the one who built it, and by the earth and the one who spread it out, oath after oath after oath, the whole cosmos being called, one piece at a time, the sun, the moon, the day, the night, the sky, the earth. It builds and builds like a spotlight, sweeping across all of creation. And then, finally, the light narrows and lands, and he swears by one last thing, by the soul and the one who perfectly proportioned it, and then inspired it to know its own corruption and its own God consciousness, its capacity for evil and its capacity for good. And then, at last, after summoning the entire universe as witness, comes the verdict. And it is about that soul. He has succeeded, truly succeeded, who purifies it. And he has failed, truly failed, who corrupts it and buries it. Sit with the architecture of that. God calls the sun, the moon, the day, the night, the sky, and the whole earth to the witness stand, the largest and grandest things in existence. and he does it all to deliver a verdict about the smallest thing, the one thing hiding inside your own chest, your soul. The entire cosmos is summoned, and it all points inward at the single most important question of your life. Have you purified your soul, or have you buried it? The whole universe is a witness in the trial of your own heart. And notice the direction of travel, because it is the entire message. The oaths move from the outside in. They begin as far away as possible, out at the blazing sun and the vault of the sky, and then they step closer to the day and the night that touch your skin, and closer still to the earth beneath your feet, and then they cross the final distance and land inside you, on your own soul. It is as if God takes your gaze, which is always wandering out there, to the sky, to the world, to everyone else's business, and gently turns it around, back past the horizon, back past the ground, all the way home to the one place you have been avoiding looking, your own heart. The whole cosmos, it turns out, was only ever the road that leads back to you. And it is not only warnings. Look at the gentler oaths, and the pattern still holds perfectly. In the chapter Ad-Duha, revealed at a moment when revelation had paused, and the prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was aching with worry that God had abandoned him. God swears by the morning brightness, and by the night when it grows still, and then the verdict comes like an embrace. Your Lord has not forsaken you, and he has not grown to hate you. And feel why those exact witnesses were chosen. The morning and the night. Because just as surely as the night always gives way to the dawn, the darkness of that pause would give way to the return of God's light. The witness was the very proof of the promise. Night becomes day. Hardship becomes relief. He does not leave you in the dark. The pattern runs through every one of them. God swears by the pen and what they write with it, and the verdict is a defense of his prophet, that he is not, by the grace of his Lord, a madman, that the words coming through him are real. God swears by the star as it sets, and the verdict is that your companion has not strayed, nor gone astray, nor does he speak from his own desire, that this is nothing but revelation revealed. God swears by the scattering winds, and the verdict is that what you have been promised is absolutely true, and that the day of judgment is going to happen. Witness after witness, verdict after verdict, and the verdicts keep circling back to the same handful of truths. So step all the way back now and look at every verdict at once, because this is the pattern. This is the thing the whole video has been building toward. What do the responses have in common? Read them together. Mankind is in loss unless it believes and does good. The human being was made for the best and can fall to the worst. The one who purifies his soul succeeds, and the one who buries it fails. What you are promised is true, and the day of judgment is coming. The revelation is real, and the messenger is truthful. Line them up, and almost every oath in the Quran, whatever it swears by, is building toward one of three truths: the reality of the resurrection, and the day you will be held to account. The truth of the revelation that is warning you about it, and the state of your own soul, and its two possible destinies. And those three are not really three, they are one. They are all the same truth wearing different clothes. And that one truth is this: you are accountable. Your life is not random. Your soul is not an accident. And there is a day coming when you will answer for what you did with it. That is the pattern. That is what the sun and the fig and the dawn and the pen are all together pointing at. And now look at what God actually did, and feel the sheer mercy and genius of it. He took the things you see every single day and never think about. The sun that rises over you every morning without fail. The dawn that breaks whether you notice it or not. The time that pours through your hands hour after hour. The food on your plate, the fig, the olive, the pen in your hand. The most ordinary, invisible, taken for granted furniture of your entire life. And he turned every one of them into a witness. And do not miss what the range itself is telling you. He swears by the sun, the largest thing in your sky, and by a single fig you could hold between two fingers. The vast and the tiny, set side by side, given the exact same solemn weight, because the lesson buried in that range is that there is no meaningless corner of creation. If God can summon a fig as a witness to the day of judgment, then nothing you look at is truly ordinary. The whole world is dense with signs, packed edge to edge with testimony, and most of us wander straight through it half asleep, mistaking a universe full of witnesses for mere scenery. He wrapped a reminder of the day of judgment inside the sunrise. He hid a warning about your soul inside a piece of fruit, so that you could not get through a single ordinary day, could not watch one more dawn, or feel one more hour slip by, or pick up one more pen, without creation itself quietly testifying against your forgetfulness and pointing you back toward the only thing that ultimately matters. The oaths are not decoration. They are creation itself, placed under oath, testifying to your accountability. Think about how relentless that is, and how merciful. God knows the human problem is not that we lack information, it is that we forget. We hear the truth, we agree with it, and then we walk out the door, and the world swallows the memory whole. So, he refused to leave the reminder, only in a book you might close and set on a shelf. He stitched it into the sky you cannot avoid, the time you cannot stop, the food you cannot help but eat. He made the reminder unavoidable, woven into the fabric of every single day, because he knows exactly how easily you forget, and he is simply not willing to let you. Every sunrise is a witness. Every passing hour is a witness, and they are all pointing at the day you will meet your Lord. We have really only scratched the surface here, because each one of these oaths could fill an entire study on its own. And there is one cluster we did not even open today. The handful of places where God does not swear by his creation at all, but swears by himself, by his own majesty, the very heaviest oaths in the whole book. That is where this series is going next, so make sure you are subscribed and the notification bell is on, because when God swears by God, the verdict that follows will change how you read the entire Quran. But before we close, do not walk away from this feeling only the weight of it, because that would be to miss the mercy sitting right inside the warning. Go back and look at those verdicts one more time, and notice something you might have rushed past. Almost every single one of them contains an exception. Mankind is in loss, except those who believe and do good. The human being falls to the lowest of the low, except those who believe and do good. The soul is buried, unless it is purified. Every time God swears an oath and delivers the hard verdict, he leaves a door standing wide open right beside it. The oaths were never meant to crush you. They are the loving insistence of a creator who refuses to let you sleepwalk through the single most important truth of your existence, who cares enough to turn the sunrise itself into a wake-up call, precisely because he does not want to lose you. And that is not the behavior of a distant judge waiting to catch you out. That is the behavior of someone who loves you and is trying, with every tool in all of creation, to reach you before it is too late. A judge who wanted you to fail would stay silent and let you wander off the edge. This God will not stop calling. He puts a witness in your morning light and your evening sky. He follows you through your whole day with reminders wrapped inside ordinary things. That is not a threat looming over you. That is a pursuit. That is a Lord chasing after a servant he refuses to give up on. And that is the most fitting place to end, because the same God who swears by the dawn to warn you is the same God who said, in words that have pulled countless souls back from the very edge, "Do not despair of the mercy of God, for God forgives all sins." Think about that alongside everything we have seen. The whole cosmos may be a witness against your forgetfulness, but the moment you turn back, that same Lord meets you with a mercy that has no bottom. The sun rises again tomorrow, the dawn breaks again, and the door he left open beside every warning is still open, right now, for you. So the next time you watch the sky lighten in the morning, remember that it is under oath, it is testifying. And what it is testifying to is that you were made for something far greater than this passing world, and that the way home is always, always open. If this gave you something, tap the like button so it reaches the next person who has never seen the pattern hiding inside these oaths. Leave the answer to my question in the comments. And subscribe so you are here when we open the oaths God swears by himself. Until then, watch the dawn a little more closely tomorrow morning. Do not just glance at it and reach for your phone. Let it be what it truly is, a witness sworn in before you with something urgent to tell you.